All right, we are live. Let me get this tweeted out for everybody so everybody can join in. Good. Awesome. Well, I hope everybody had a great trading day today. So today is Wednesday, August 28th. And let's take a look and see where we're at and what's going on. So this is the market right now. There's 2 more days left in the month. We got 2 more trading days left in the month. And so far, the month has taken the prior month's topping tail off of the upper Bollinger Band on the monthly chart down. And right now we have a red month, right? So, and it's a red spinning top. And so we'll see if that gets any continuation tomorrow. Right now, futures are down, 12 and 3/4 points. But we'll see how that holds into the morning. Right now, I mean, these used to be like if we're down 12 points, like, oh no, everything's horrible for the next day. But I mean, we could be up 20 points in the morning as far as, and that's just this volatility that we've had recently. So pretty interesting stuff there. So given that, right? We'll see. We'll see where this month ends up. I mean, they could, if they really wanted to get strong, they could push it out. I don't think it's going to end up with like a green hammer like this, but we'll see. We'll see how it kind of continues. So August, right? August is August, right? So it's been kind of interesting. We definitely have had some major, moves, this month, and it's been very interesting. So, so far with the weekly though, I mean, we are like smack dab in the middle, right? So we are double inside week on the SPX. So really interesting stuff. If we end up finishing this way, right? Obviously the month will stay the same, but that's very, very interesting stuff. Very rare to see a double inside week on that, which means what we're seeing is contraction, right? And so contraction leads to expansion, and we'll see which way it expands, basically starting next week. So that should be some pretty amazing stuff. From there, the daily chart, guys, it is, it's been interesting, right? So we had a really, really sharp move down. We called out this this potential move to the downside, right? So we had this upward trend line here on the daily. We had a minor pivot breakdown right here off of that upward trend line. And then once it kind of pushed through there, that kind of got things going. Now gave one quick tag up here to actually form this macro downward trend line, and then really, really came down fast. And that's what happens, right? That's what happens after you have like a long move up, right? We had also like, really, narrow range inside days, NR7 days, and then it pushed down, right? So now we've been kind of like just chopping back and forth through the cloud here, and brings us up to today. I mean, so right now, a couple days ago we had an inside day, right? We gapped above it yesterday, right? We pushed down, right? Tested those levels and kind of came back up. Now today we gapped down, tested those prior levels. These inside days are very significant. Tested those prior levels and then actually came up off of it, right? So and then pushed up even higher. So even a small gap down, 10 points, so 2085, let's say 2975, we're still in the cloud, right? And still relatively bullish. Just wants to test some of these levels. And then if it can hold this 2875, 2874, right, we could start to work our way out of the cloud and maybe even push to all-time highs. So we're in a very, very interesting situation right now. So good stuff, right? After that big move down, right? It's amazing. Everybody's like, oh no, everything's horrible, and you get a couple sharp days down because the volatility's high, but we're really kind of holding pretty well. So we'll see. And this could be like one big, bear flag, bear pennant or something like that. But so far it looks like it's been, it's been acting pretty constructive. So let's take a look at the price action today. These are the levels for today. Let me pull those up right here, August 28th. So these are levels that that we tweet out to our subscribers before every market day, and really, really helps, right? Because these give us levels to trade against, right? So you could see, obviously, the S1 level, that's your support 1 level, served as the support level of the day, right? We gapped down today and we faded the gap, right? So we gapped down right here, pushed down, put a nice green hammer in right here, and then all the way up basically for the rest of the day and some chop into the end, right? So here, big, strong bar here through the prior day's low. That shows, remember, we were talking about that inside day, right? So it just shows that the lows of the prior day were just, nope, it's good, tested, good. Move all the way up, move up fast, very, really strong bars this morning. Then, a little bit of a bull flag, then up, bull flag up, and then just chop for the rest of the day. So kind of makes sense there. So that's where we're at. So we'll see where we go tomorrow. We'll see how these futures hold. There is a good possibility that we'll, not hold those levels for too long. So we'll have to check and see where we're at in the morning. So these days it's, it's like, okay, down 12 points, whatever, so is what it is. So this week, Just today, we're just going to continue the discussion. I don't think I have an email from Shirley tonight. Oh, no, got it right here. Got it. She said it at 90 minutes ago. Okay, right before we started. Cool. She's got a cool list. So don't let me forget that list. Okay, so in fact, let me type it in here real quick before I'll type it when we're done. So basically today, what I want to talk about is we're continuing this discussion on developing trading systems, right? And really the whole idea this week, and tomorrow we're going to conclude, of course, but the whole idea this week is to find a system that you're comfortable with, that works for you, right? You got to know, when you go back and you back test your system, you need to establish and determine what the win rate is of the system and how effective it is, right? So anything over 50%, you can really work with that, right? And anything lower than 50%, you've got to have high profit percentages, like those turtles that we talked about. Like their win rate was horrible, right? I mean, maybe 20%, something like that, maybe less, 10%. But when they won and the things moved, right, like they basically got in here and held all the way, up here essentially, or maybe they got stepped out here, maybe they got all the way up here. But so they could, that was their system, is they could hold through that. So when they got that big win, they were good, right? So it all depends on that. So it's important to know these. And then it's also important to know what the loss levels are. So even if you lose 80% of the time, if you're only losing a small amount 80% of the time, but you're making a lot on the ones that you win, well, that's different, right? So it could happen, but you gotta be careful. Those percentages have to be right. If you're losing 99% of the time, in a little bit, that could add up really quickly, right? And we talked about evaluating this, for example, 10 trades, right? So you have 5 winners, you make 2 points per trade with 1 to 2 risk reward, right? You make 10 points there. If you have 5 losers, you lose 1 point per trade, then you lose 5 points. You net 5 points total on 10 trades. So 100 trades, you net 50 points. 1,000 trades, you net 500 points. It's kind of the idea over time. And then you log the stuff, log the trades, and evaluate all the data that you have, to determine whether or not the system you have is a winner. So today, here's the market too. We are above the pitchfork on the SPX. So basically still in the same areas. Just wanted to point that out too. Okay. So that being said, so let's take a look. So we've been using Apple a lot as an example recently. So let's just continue to use Apple just to kind of look. So today we're going to talk about the 5x10 MA. So it's basically a crossover strategy using your 5 period simple moving average and your 10 period simple moving average. So really, really interesting stuff. If we go back to Apple, which we've been kind of looking at all week, the system is relatively simple. You can do it on any time frame, right? You just have to evaluate which works best for you. Usually, the bigger the time frame, the more potent the move is. But it's still interesting to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the extended hours trading here. I'm going to go back to clear, okay, and I'm going to go to C4, and then I'm going to add the simple moving average and the simple moving average, the 5 and the 10 MA. So we'll put those on there, and we'll kind of see how that plays out. These are the type of things when you find one that you're comfortable with. Right? We already looked at the VWAP crossovers, and we looked at the Darvas boxes. There's so many systems out there, just to find one that mostly fits your trading style. Right? So here we go. So we got 10 here. The 10 MA will make yellow, okay, and then the 5 MA will make green. Okay, there. Okay. So there we go. We put those on there, and then we just kind of go through and observe, right? Kind of what happens here. So you can see on the smaller time frames, this is not, when you look at these type of moves right here, these type of crossovers, these are the type of, this does not work when trading options at all. You can just look at it and tell, right? You have a crossover here, which is really, really great, but maybe you make 10 cents off an option, right? Really, really risky, especially with the risk. So in this case, the risk reward on options isn't stellar, right? Now, occasionally you get a move like this, right? We have your crossover here. Again, that probably signaled on this level, but then that's a nice move. And we saw it yesterday with the VWAP crosses as well. But when you have multiple crossovers in a short period of time, right, then it's not effective, right? So you could clearly see here that this one would not be a solid trading plan. If anything, it looks like it would maybe wins like 10% of the time, and the times it does win, it probably doesn't make up for all the losers. So that's on the 5-minute time frame. So you can eliminate that from a day trading methodology. But we could go back and we could go to the hourly, for instance, and see how effective this is on the hourly for a potential swing trading opportunity. And then we'll take a look at the daily and see that too. So as you move out a little bit farther, we tend to get a little more clarity, for potential swings. So here you could see, if we just go back to here back to the beginning of August, right? With Apple, we had a death cross here of the 510 MA at about 10:30 on that Thursday, right? Is where the cross showed. It was probably around this bar. So if you took a swing short here, well, now it's looking a little bit better on the longer time frame, right? So the shorter time frame is not so good, but in the longer time frame here, your entry is 215, and that takes you all the way down to 193. Now that's not such a horrible strategy, right? So here, same thing, right? You take a look at this crossover here, right? So we take this, maybe possibly the crossover came somewhere in here. So 195. Okay, is a swing trade. Maybe you have your stop at that recent low. Okay, so 3-point stop. And then it worked its way all the way up here. I mean, pretty good, right? From 195 all the way up to 203. Well, that's pretty good, right? And then you want to exit in here. So you take profit here potentially. It depends on what your, what your goals are. But as you evaluate and go back in time and evaluate through these, oh, this actually does work pretty good for a swing strategy. And then you get this. Then you get some chop. Okay, nothing happens. Then you get stopped out on this bar. If you took this short and you were holding, either you wait for the other crossover and you say, wait. You had some confusion in here, right? Got a little challenging. So either way, there was a possible, even here is the last one short, would have gotten stopped the next day, right? More than likely. So even if your stop was right here. So there you go. There's the first failure on that one. Okay, then this came over this off of this gap down. There's a death cross here. Maybe it occurred, somewhere in this bar. So potentially 204, right? 4 points right there. Then you need a gold cross here off the gap up. It probably occurred here, and that actually worked really well. So clearly, this works really well when the market is, or when the stock is starting to change. But they tend to be like some superfluous or some unnecessary crossovers. So those have to be accounted for. But it looks like the big ones probably make up for the small ones. So it is just another strategy that has to be considered, right? So you can see once you do that, you look at how big the gains are, and then you look at how big the losses are. So I mean, we can kind of do it real quick. What the winning percentage is. So let's see. So this one right here, we would look at as a win, right? Potentially, 214 down to 192. So that was a big win. Okay, so 22 points on that one. Then we had a win here from 195 to 202. Okay. So that gives 7, right? So you're at 29 points right there. So you can see, right now you're averaging, 22 plus 7, right? So about 14 points per trade, right? Then you get stopped out a couple points here, right? So here, possible stop out if you take it on each crossover, right? So here you went short, right? Then it came over, you got long. So maybe you lost 2, 4, 6 points here. So your losses, each time they're about like 2 points per loss, but you've out of two wins, 1, 2, 3 losses, right? So you could see it's not 50% of the time at this point, right? And then it ultimately gave a gold cross here. Entry possibly would have been tough. Maybe even got stopped out here, right? If you took that long bar going long, right? And then a down move. So you could see the losses are actually kind of outweighing the wins as you go through time. And then so it's at that, and then here a couple of losses in here most likely. And so now the win rate is kind of coming down to like 30%, even though the wins are pretty good. You got 2, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5, 6 losses and 2 wins, right? We're talking like 20% win rate. So 6 times 2, right? Or even 8 times 2, let's just say, right? So you lose 16 points, but the ones that you won, you had what was it, about 2 times 14ish. Well, you're still at 28, 29. So it still outweighs it, even with a losing win rate, right? So just definitely something to keep an eye on and something to think about when you're setting up a strategy. So anyway, and very, very interesting there too with the with those moving averages. So good. Well, anyway, at this point, that's all I have. So if anybody has any questions or chart requests, please feel free to plug those in the chat window. We'll get through as many as we can, and we'll try to wrap up by like 10:30. Let me pull up real quick. Let me get Shirley's stocks right here and plug those in. She had just emailed that before we started here. So we have this. Oh, good. She did 5. I love you, Shirley. Thank you. KO, PG, and PE. Okay, cool. And Shirley, be sure to email me too on those questions I asked you the other day too, if you see those. Okay, so those are Shirley stocks right there. Okay, cool. Paul, how's it going? Good to see you. Enjoy Life Apparel. Good evening. Heather, good evening. Harvey, how are you, my friend? Good job today. Nice job on Facebook. Robbie Kumar, how's it going? Cost. Absolutely. Let's take a look at cost and see what that's up to these days. So let's go to our favorite time frame, the daily. So let's take a look at Costco. And again, it's still not saving some of these levels. Let me just adjust those again really quickly. So Costco is pretty amazing, right? It almost hit 300 today. The megaphone right here, breakout, expanding triangle breakout. Big move, right? Huge news. Goes ex-dividend tomorrow, so just be careful of that. But that might give a good buy the dip opportunity. So that's if it does, kind of come off of that. Did give a big topping tail today, but had a huge move off of its, China news, news store in China. Let's take a look at that, and then move the expand the opacity down to here. Okay, let me just clear that set there. Okay, good. So here's Costco, obviously still working its way up, topping tail today. But at this point, we can kind of just see, we just use this right here and this high, in general, the trend is still up until proven otherwise. It might pull down a little bit, might even test 50% of that range, but as long as it holds that upward trend line, right? So far it's so good. Great volume both days today. And in fact, today was pretty incredible, guys. It gave a, beautiful move off the open. Nice strong bar, right off the open, nice bullish bar right here with a quick entry there as a continuation move through yesterday's highs, which is usually when you have a big gap up, when you have a big gap up, like we did the other day, we've talked about this several times, and you push through those highs, you can get another move up. So that was Costco today, really, really strong stuff. Then it kind of pulled back a little bit, got below the cloud, and, kind of left, kind of left the topping tail for the day. So we'll see if that gets any follow through tomorrow. It does go ex-dividend tomorrow, so something to keep an eye on. BA has been just super strong after it, finally broke out of its downward trend line, right? So that's what we had here. Let's wait for this to pull up here. If it does, give it a second. Okay, so this was the downward trend line we had here, right? We had a minor pivot here. You can see swing long level, and so we actually had swung it here. The same level applied here. And then we got a nice breakout there. So it's been pulling back a little bit. So we have this upward trend line here, okay, which it did break below, but it held. So let's see now if it retests this or gives us a new high to shift the trend line over. So it's kind of in a funky area right now. And then TGT. Oh, guys, double inside day today. Beautiful move. Let's take a look at it right here real quick. So this was the double inside day strategy. If you open inside the range, right, you have a high probability of breaking out one way or the other, and it boom, 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 and just really, really nice move today. It did it relatively quickly. If we go to the 5-minute time frame here, okay, the first bar was really strong and it pushed its way out of that inside day range, and then it just launched, and it was really, really strong with Costco too. So you had two brick and mortar retail stores that were both kind of ripping at the open. This one ended up closing higher, but that was that double inside day strategy. So thank you guys again for mentioning that too. Sarah, good evening. Akshay, how's it going? Good evening. Why 2852 support for level for SPX? Let's take a look. $28.52. Did I mention that earlier? What happened to our day? There we go. Yeah, so 28.52 basically is today's lows, right? So, as long as it can hold those lows, it's pretty good, right? We had a, pretty much a high here, that where a gap was filled around that range. So we are finding a bunch of support in this area, right? So if we continue up, that 28.74 then becomes, your cloud support right there. So, but yeah, you do have today's lows and the inside day lows here is at 28.56. The high here was 28.56. So you have that 28.56 level is pretty key, and then today's low. So it just found support today. Oh, and you're talking about why on the time frame did it do that? So why is this 28.53 support? This is a level that we tweet out, right, for subscribers, right? So we give this to everybody. So these are floor pivot levels, and we've done some videos on this in the past, but these all are calculated levels based on the prior day's highs, lows, close, stuff like that. So So yes, this is a calculated level, and floor traders use this to trade off of. So when we can get to these levels, we look for key signals for to trade off of. So here we had a bullish candlestick and ended up being a a good reversal off of that. Netfry, what's going on? Good to see you. B, hello. Netfry, this moving average crossover strategy is very nice. Yes, and and some people use different ones, right? I mean, you could use the 50 and 200. You can use, some people use the 9 and 13. Some people use the the 8 and the 21. So it's all up to you guys. I mean, whatever you're most comfortable with, whatever time frames you're most comfortable with too. And so it takes some experimentation, to find that kind of stuff. So. Julian, what's going on? Is this chat working? It is. Not many like usually. Oh, yeah. Well, you're normally the first one here, Julian. So, yeah, I think it's a little, maybe the link I tweeted out was a little bit different. I'm not sure, but it should be okay. It should have been okay. I don't know. I hope so. If not, we'll still send out the link, right? So, and everybody will be able to see it. So good stuff. Okay, so these are Shirley stocks. So we have AEO. Let's take a look at that. Let's find get some data in here. So I freed up a little cash on my Thinkorswim, so that might have helped things out a little bit, or my my memory on it. So we'll see. So surely this is really interesting. We looked at this a while ago, right back last year, and what we're seeing here is it's still holding these pitchfork levels, right? So it just got above the lower pitchfork level, but careful, the stochastic is starting to get extended, right? So let's put a trend line on this. Right, so we have here to here. Okay, so we did get above this downward trend line, so we're starting to get over some of these levels. So it is starting to get bullish, but don't be surprised if it chops around for a little bit before moving up. But if you have the patience, it could work. VZ, I would just kind of avoid completely. I mean, obviously, 5G type news and gapping up and all that stuff, but this thing trades like such a mess. It's really, really tough, and it's just getting out of some congestion right here. It's got this gap below. I just don't trust it. It is holding the fib band line, but it is in a huge congestion zone. This is one I would have personally avoid. I've looked for swing longs on this one for a long time, and it has just been very, very difficult. But just see, I mean, it could hold if it holds this fib band line and gets out of the congestion zone. It might work its way up to a couple of these levels here. It's just been really, really tough to trade for a very long time. Now, KO is a different story. KO can move. Right? And the trend is clearly up. So let's see if these trend lines come in. Okay, we do. We do have a few. Look at that. Very, very nice. What I like here is when it gapped up on earnings, it pulled back nicely, gave a very excellent entry for a potential swing long. Now it's basically just continuing its uptrend. So just continue to keep an eye on this one, as it's bullish until proven otherwise. Good stuff there. PG. Saw some insider selling on PG recently. Don't know if it means anything. Usually doesn't. Usually there's people taking profit, considering it's like right back at its all-time highs. So do keep an eye on this one, Shirley, too. It's getting really, really close, and this is for everybody. It's getting really, really close to its gap high level, this 121.76. So that's a really key level where you might be able to catch a move on it. So keep, if you day trade this thing, mark that level at 121.76 and look for like a key setup like in or around that area, whether it's like a inside 15 orb, double inside 5, whatever the case is. Look for a potential action around that level. And then PE. POS the energy. It did put in new lows here. So this puts the trend right here. So interestingly enough, Shirley, it just broke over its downward trend line today. So really, really good stuff. So just keep this in mind. If it breaks over today's highs, it could continue its way up. That is it is a very bullish looking chart. So I'm actually going to put that on the game plan for tomorrow. It looks so good. So we'll keep an eye on that. Nice one there. Good stock, Shirley. Mike Flynn, how's it going? Netflix, my pleasure. Let's take a look. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so Netflix, really, really interesting stuff. Actually, Paul put a really kind of cool count together, saying that this is basically wave 1 and this is working on wave 2, which is really interesting, right? Because it is starting to pull back really tightly. If Netflix wants to play now is the time, right? There's a couple cool things. We got the stochastic getting ready to curl over, right? We've got the downward trend line, which isn't quite broken yet, but it might give us a minor pivot and then a move. So Netflix is kind of getting ready right here. And then we have kind of this like, you know, descending wedge, you know, ending diagonal type situation right here. So we'll see if this can actually finally try to get out of its downward trend line. If not, then, you know, maybe it'll get down to 200 or something like that. So Paul, it's still liking WW and then Netflix. Nice. Yeah, totally. So let's take a look here. So WW, gosh, that target double inside day. Great job, guys, pointing that out yesterday. Incredible stuff. Yeah, so I mean, this has been really fantastic. It was you know, we did this for a swing or an attempted swing recently off of this bull flag, and some profited from that, and they got out, which is good because it flushed down. But now it's still kind of working its way. It is kind of chopping around in here. I would like to see maybe like one more pullback and then another move up. So it is looking pretty good though. Call what's going on? Looks like Costco is running without membership. Yeah, it definitely is. Costco is ridiculous. And then that was another key move too, is Costco's breakout over yesterday's high, which is just a key setup to keep in everybody's arsenal. Call what's happening? All right, Starbucks, McDonald's, and Hun. These are all good names. So S-Bucks, buy the drip. Buy the drip. Wow, this is consolidating nicely after a huge move up, huge consolidation right here. So, definitely worth watching to see if you can get a breakout over any, like basically this level right here. This, if you can get over 97.50, right, and start to work its way up, this thing could be ridiculous. So it's definitely worth watching. That is definitely deserves an alert. McDonald's. Decent pullback. So, it's been following this channel up for so long. Let's see what it's looking like. So it held these levels pretty well, right? It came back down, tested. It just loves these. So just keep an eye on this for a potential move. Watch it goes ex-dividend in 2 days. So just watch that. It might pull back a little bit on that and then go. So that looks good. And then the Honeywell. Let's take a look. So we have this here. I like that. I like this curl over here off of the stochastic. Here to here to here. Just might need a little bit more time to get over this downward trend line, right? So just be careful of that. But once it gets over, it gives you a minor pivot, it could start to work its way back up. Actually, and what a move on UNH today. Almost predicted the move, but was too scared to enter. Well, that's cool. Yeah, UNH is a tough one to trade. We do have a few folks in our group that like to trade this one a lot. It's more of like giving you like some interesting price action to trade, intraday. I mean, there's no real signals to take this thing for a long, but if we go to the 5-minute time frame, we can kind of see. I mean, I looked at it earlier. Somebody pointed it out to me today. It was pretty tough, right? I mean, so you had a really strong green bar at the open here, right? But no, actually you didn't. You had a red bar at the open, the reversal bar with the high topping tail, and then an inside strong. I mean, this was tough to trade today, honestly. That move, just looking at the price action of it. So I wouldn't feel bad if you missed it, right? The only thing you had was like a gap down, and so the other strategy is a push through the prior day's lows. So it moved down significantly yesterday. So you have this level right here. Right, once it crosses to the prior day's lows, right, you could get a move, and it did. It popped really quick, and then it came back in, and then I guess here it kind of told you, hey, I want to hold those prior day's lows, and then it moved. Right, then it was going right into some cloud resistance right here, so that's pretty tough, right? I mean, it was a decent bar right here for sure, but it was a tough move, but a nice move though, nice move up, and then it held cloud pretty well, for the rest of the day. Wendy, good morning. Hope everything's going well. Ricky Chan, what's happening? PLNT and PLCE. Yeah, let's take a look. So PLNT. Well, glad we got this video stuff under control. Zoom seems to be working pretty well, so I'm bullish on Zoom, right? So PLNT, let's take a look at the daily chart here. So it is working its way up. It had earnings recently, and had a nice strong bar, guys. This is what we look for, right? When we have a gap down, but it has good volume coming in and finishes with a green bar. The next day, we look for entries, right? For a good green move. Now, of course, this is very similar to Caterpillar. Didn't hold, and it came back down, came back to its 15 orb levels here, right? Held. This is a nice, reversal of doji right here and moved up since then. So it has gotten to the mid Bollinger Band right now. It's at some key levels, so it might consolidate for a little bit and then start to work its way back up. And then PLCE. Big stuff here too, guys. This is exactly the same setup that Planet Fitness had, in Caterpillar recently, right? Gap down, strong green day. Next day, look for bullish entries. Okay, so these are good setups, guys. There are 3 solid setups that we've talked about today. One, this, right? You gap down, you have a green bar. The next day, look for some nice moves, right? Look for bullish setups, right? 2, and by the way, this is still looking pretty bullish here. So, it could come up and test its upper Bollinger Band. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, we talked about Costco, right? Day 2, after a big gap up, right? Big gap up in a move, look for a breakout above the prior day's high, right? This is all-time highs right here, right? We opened up, pretty high in the range. And so how do we get there, right? We go to the 5-minute chart. It gives you a bullish bar right at the open. That bullish bar right at the open plowed through, right? The prior days, it's gap, that super high gap up high, right? You see that? This is awesome, right? You can take an entry off of that bar and you get a nice move from, 295 all the way up to 299. Beautiful trade, right? That's 2 setups right there. And then, and the other one that we talked about was Target, the double inside day, right? So Target, when you open up inside the range, right? And you follow your VWAP, as long as you're over the VWAP, you look for a move over the prior day's highs, like we did here, right off the opening bar, and then have another move off of that. So that's 3 key moves. You have a double inside day move, you have a gap high breakout, right? And then you have that gap down strong day, second day move, right? These are 3 key things that you take away tonight, right, to improve your trading in the future. So just remember those. Thanks for bringing those up, Ricky. Session, what's happening? Adobe, Starbucks, Beyond, and BA. I think we looked at Starbucks already, and then did we look at BA earlier? I can't remember. I think we did. Yeah, we looked at BA a little bit earlier. So I'm just going to go Adobe and Beyond. Okay. So ADBE. Let's get to the back to the daily chart there. Okay, so Adobe, nasty, avoid at this point, right? I mean, it is just a nasty consolidation mode right here, right? It is just trying to figure out what it wants to do with its life. I mean, it's just blah. I mean, I don't even know. It's kind of it's just nasty, right? Give it some time. It's got earnings coming up not too far away, 9/13, 2 weeks. Just wouldn't even mess with it until then. See if it gives you a nice 15 orb that day, and then look to trade it the next day. Or if it gaps down, use that gap down strategy. Or if it gaps up super high above everything, use the gap up strategy, right? That's what I would do with Adobe at this point. So, and then Beyond. BYND. Yeah. This is kind of on the bullish radar today, just based on this this trend line breakout. So it closed red yesterday, even though it's green bar right here, but it's down below the closed below the open. We are above this kind of minor pivot level. So Beyond is actually starting to look pretty good. It's getting over this volumetric level, over this 160, 110, 162. It could start to work its way back up again. It could be pretty interesting. So yeah, so very, very interesting on Beyond. Wendy, Apple, Facebook, and Square. Yeah, let's take a look. So Apple, Tim Cook just dumped like, I don't know, 5,600, I don't know, 25, 30, $50 million worth of stock. So just keep that in mind. Okay. A lot of these big companies, insiders starting to dump some stocks, like Bezos dumped, Tim Cook just dumped, stuff like that. So just watch this. It's getting close. It's holding its volumetric support levels. It needs to get above this 215 really to start working its way up. So definitely eyeing, eyeing Apple, but it's really just not special right now. It tried today, it pushed down a little bit, kind of came back up into that prior inside day range, but it kind of paused out, right? So it'd be nice if it closed above that today, like the market did. So it just didn't participate. A lot of stocks didn't participate today, and yet the indexes were screaming, which is really, really weird. I have no idea what was moving the indexes today, other than just volatility. Because Amazon was up $2, right? Apple was up $1. Right? Boeing was up $5, which is really not a lot. I mean, it's a lot, but not really a lot. But the SPX is up 18 points, right? It's like, really? What was moving the market, just other than volatility? Anyway, Facebook is actually starting to look pretty interesting. So we talked about this yesterday. Nice breakout over the downward trend line here with a minor pivot here. So it looks pretty constructive today. Filled its gap and all that stuff. So at this point, just kind of see if you can get over that level that basically 184.10, something like that. If you can get a bid over that, should looks pretty good. SQ. I mean, it's still kind of rough, right? We had this upward trend. It's kind of breaking down a little bit. It's trying to hold on a little. Low here was 60.25. Low today, 60.60. So see if it kind of pushes down and then see how it holds that 60.25 level. Could reclaim that, it might get a little momentum up. But right now, it's just still kind of downtrending, right? So just keep that in mind. Sarah, is the screen blurry or is it new glasses? I don't know. Yeah. Click the resolution in the bottom right-hand corner of your YouTube, and then up the resolution on it. I think if you go to, you could set your res to, you hit quality to at least 480 or something like that, or as high as it can go. Because I think the zoom actually does come through better. I know Callsaw was saying that the quality was pretty good, so keep an eye on that. Darren, been short J&J, good for you. NetFry. So yeah, I'm like a perma bear on Johnson & Johnson. So great job. And Darren, you're like the resident expert on these pharma names too. So good. I'm glad that you're short this. I'm glad J&J is going down, and I'm glad you're profiting from it. So yeah, so pretty interesting stuff too, right? We had this is actually kind of the opposite, right? So it obviously went ex dividend there, but it gapped up, and this is technically a red bar because we were low. So it's kind of like the opposite, right? We look for as we did on a gap down. So nice move, nice top and tail off of that news. I mean, basically it's kind of corny. It's like they're gapping up because they said it was they lost the lawsuit, but it was gapping up because it was for less than they expected. It's like, okay, really? That's a win? It's like we just lost less. It's like how's that a win? But anyway, so yeah. So hopefully this will keep it working its way down there for you. But yeah, nice play on that one. Karkuki, Karkawuki? How's it going? What's up? Newish here. My name is John, and we run this YouTube every market night, and we've got a great group of people in our group on Twitter, and we have the positive-trends.com. We got a nice nice private group too. So good stuff. Nice to meet you. Roku starting to top out. Good question and good point. Roku is Roku, right? It is incredible, right? I don't know what they're doing with it, how far they're going to get it to 200. But this thing has been a monster, and we've been profiting on it a lot on the way up, right? So, it is what it is. I mean, we'll see what happens. Right? We've shorted it, no problem shorting it right here. It just is having trouble breaking down, right? And so its upward trend line right here is still intact. So today's lows are pretty key. As long as it holds that, I mean, it's going to hold this upward trend line tomorrow, for the most part, right? So now it's pretty steep, so we'll see what it does, right? It has to put in a new high, maybe a new low, and then we can shift the trend line. But right now it's still trending up, right? So until proven otherwise, but it continues to get bought. The dip continues to get bought on Roku, so just keep that in mind. Doesn't mean there aren't short plays intraday, for sure. I mean, we look for shorts on it all the time, daily, but it is just strong overall. Sarah, thank you. That worked. Oh, sweet, good. I'm glad it's not as blurry, and I'm glad it's not your glasses either. So, yeah, nice play, Darren. Awesome stuff. Choco, what's happening? Facebook was so scary today. What do I think about the VIX? So the VIX, right? We definitely want to take a look at all the time, right? So the VIX, if we go to the do I have an hourly up here? Yeah, so here's the hourly. If we add the cloud to the hourly, and then we go to the VIX. Right, so we go Ichimoku. I'll take these moving averages off there. So Ichimoku, and we switch to the VIX. right? Whenever, if you guys have seen my 3-minute video, if you guys subscribe on YouTube here and you go to my playlists, definitely check out the series where I go over technical analysis in 3 minutes or less, right? And so the one I do is like when and when not to buy the dip, and that's with the VIX, right? So as long as we're above the cloud with the VIX, we're still sketchy, right? So it's been above the 60 cloud, and it's the 60 I'm talking about here, right? So we've been above this cloud for a while, right? So we're really not out of the water yet, and it's actually if we gap down tomorrow, it should be up tomorrow too. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on, something we look at daily to see if it makes sense for us to buy the dip. And the other thing you want to know too is where we're where the implied volatility of the VIX is. So let me pull out the imp vol right here. 1 second. Edit studies. You go imp volatility there. Right. So one of the things that we look at that's really, really key is for this volatility to try to get below 0.90, right? And the lower the better, right? So we haven't been to 0.90 since August 1st, okay? And then since there, it's just been pretty nuts, as you guys can tell. And so right now we're still hitting with an implied volatility of the VIX. The volatility of the VIX is still over 0.90, right? So there's a lot of stuff, with the VIX that we're not out of the woods yet, right? So there's still pretty sketchy stuff going on right there. But yeah, Facebook, has been sketchy. It's been interesting both ways. We traded that today in the room, and we had a great trade with it. We probably got the best trade out of it today. If we go to the 5-minute chart, I'll show you where we took the entry. So we traded here on Facebook. I need the pre-market stuff here. There we go. Okay, so on Facebook here, we traded the cloud. We had a nice bullish bar right here, nice inside bar. We traded this break, got a little bit sketchy right there for a second, but then we got a nice break out of the cloud. But look here how the cloud kind of dropped sharply. That moved resistance down. It put a lot of distance between the value, the price, and then the cloud. And so then we took some nice profit off of this one, and we stopped out. We took profit here. And then it came back down, right? So that was kind of the best move of the day on Facebook. There's one other opportunity kind of through here, but it was a little bit choppy for the rest of the day. So yeah, but though that move down at the open was definitely pretty nasty, but everything was moving pretty crazy at the open this morning. So it's just, you just got to let that stuff flush out. That's why we use the 15 orbs, and we leave those opening bars. We do have trading techniques for the opening bars, but that was totally ignorable today. So we just left that one go. It's too big a range. So if it just kept flushing, it is what it is, right? But it reversed nicely. So yeah, so good stuff. Karkouki, no problem. My pleasure. It's nice to meet you. And thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. Great discussion so far this week on different systems. Tomorrow we're going to kind of wrap it all together, try to tie into some options and stuff like that. And then as we get ready for the weekend. So 2 more trading days left, and then we got a big weekend ahead. So a short week next week. Keep that in mind. The market is closed on Monday because of Labor Day in the US. So it'll be a short week next week. So just keep that in mind. So good stuff. All right, guys. Well, everybody enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you for your support. Definitely check out the links in the description, all sorts of good stuff in there. And remember your risk first and stay safe so you can stay in the game. And I'll talk to you guys soon.